Hello. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good wherever you are. I'm Charlie Capon, head poodle whisperer and bacon maker here at Momentus. Thank you for joining us for this Momentus event with Jen Padalecki and Breanne Randall. I wanted to give a few quick notes before we start. Jen will be taking some of your questions from the audience, so use the Q&A box to send us your questions about the book or writing or whatever, what have you. We're here for the book lovers and the authors. If you send a question and you want to come on, join us live here on the chat. You can also raise your hand. Use the raised hand button there in the reactions at the bottom, and just to let us know. So the chat is open, Q&A box is open. We're really excited to talk about this book, The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic with Breanne Randall. A Gilmore Girls meets Practical Magic, if you will, which I feel like a few of you might know both of those references quite in depth. But if you want to come on live, make sure you use that Q&A box and raise your hand, and maybe we can bring you in. Jen also just announced her November pick, her book club pick, The Arc of Taste. Ooh, yes. It's a really cool illustrated encyclopedia about the heritage foods in the United States. It has recipes, history, cocktail recipes. It's perfect for your November cooking. And we'll be chatting with Giselle, one of the book authors from that book, very soon. But without further ado, let's get a little witchy. Jen, Breanne, can we do like an incantation and have you come join us? Let's see if we can bring you in here. There we go. We got one. We got two.
It worked.
We made it.
We didn't know you were magic, Charlie.
I've been known to do a spell or two in my day.
You can conjure up some witches.
That's right. Well, I'm going to let you two get to it. What a cool book, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, Breanne.
Hi,
everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know I'm very excited, and our audience is so excited to be chatting with you about your new best-selling novel, The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. This debut novel is a small-town witchy romance, and for fans of Practical Magic or Gilmore Girls, we will follow Sadie, whose magic comes at the price of a curse of 4 heartbreaks. And when her grandmother is diagnosed with cancer and her first heartbreak returns to town after a decade, Sadie's carefully structured life begins to unravel. And as she faces the last of her heartbreaks, she'll have to decide if love is more important than magic. I loved this read. It was so fun. And I am so excited to join Breanne and join you all to discuss in this exciting conversation. So Breanne, thank you so much for being here. Can you start off by telling us a bit about what inspired you to write this story?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. So this book idea came to me probably 6 years ago. My grandmother, I lived next door to her my whole life. Growing up, I grew up in Tennessee. And then we moved to California and she moved with us. So I was always next door to her, going to her house for coffee in the morning, and she would make me breakfast, and we'd have family dinners every Sunday. And so she passed away very suddenly from cancer. And it was like 2.5 months from time of diagnosis to her passing away. And I was just absolutely, it was not good. So as a way, I had already written several books at that point that nothing had happened with. And I thought, you know what, this one's just for me. I'm just going to write a book. And of course it has to have magic in it, because everything I do has to have magic in it. But her character, Gigi's character, is inspired completely by my grandmother. And so I did it kind of as a way to process through that grief, and I guess to preserve her memories forever. And that was what got the ball rolling.
Oh, wow. What a great, what an amazing way to turn some heartbreak into a cathartic experience, and to create such a, fun work and a great read. Bringing this to Sadie's heartbreak, do you did you channel yourself a little bit then in that?
I definitely think I did. I mean, everything about her character and even her death in the book was kind of reflective of what happened in real life. And even though Sadie is different than I am, of course, I think I took the experience of going through that and just kind of ascribed it to Sadie so that I could process through it myself through her character. But yeah, definitely I think there's some similarities there for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and lots of magic. You were talking about magic before as well. I'd love to hear about how that also wove into the story and inspired the story.
I think I really wanted magic, kind of like a magical realism in a sense where it feels like it can happen. You know, you watch the Avengers or something that has a lot of that kind of otherworldly type of magic in it, and it's a good suspension of disbelief, but it doesn't feel very real. And I knew that I wanted a magic system that could feel grounded and just kind of everyday, you know, symbolism, if you will, through herbs and plants and cooking and baking and all of that. So I knew I always have to have some element of magic because I just love it. And so I think it stems from there. And it was just a lot of research on, you know, symbolism and what does this plant do and what does it mean in this culture and kind of tying it all together to fit the themes of the book and what I needed to do for the plot.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it totally drives, I mean, the story as well, you know, with tapping in. And I think that it also made me as a reader really reflect on my own magic and what magic I can bring and what, you know, how science and magic and how they play off of each other. You know, there's the science of an art of baking, but there's a lot of magic that goes into that as well.
100%. I think for me, I've always loved baking, loved cooking, but baking particularly. I love cooking, but I am very passionate about baking. Always have been. My dream as a kid was to go to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris and just live my life over there. And I, you know, I've been to Paris several times, but never went to Le Cordon Bleu. It's still on my bucket list because they have short courses that you can take instead of enrolling in the whole program. But so I think for me, growing up next door to my grandma, who was an incredible Southern cook, and learning her recipes. So a lot of the recipes in the book are actually her real recipes that I was able to put in there. And just having that experience of the family dinners and her cooking me breakfast and kind of showing love in that way, I guess, was for me, I mean, that's, you know, that's its own kind of magic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. The art of gathering and food central to that. I know that even in the beginning, you know, family is central. It's the central part, I feel like, of the story. And I'm wondering if you could even talk a little bit about Sadie's family and how we find them at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, I think, you know, they're so disparate at the beginning of the book. And there's a lot of, you know, with any big family, there's a lot of frustration, heartbreak, bitterness, even with Sadie towards her brother. And even with her past heartbreaks and how those heartbreaks, romantic heartbreaks, kind of influenced her attitude towards her own brother, because it felt like she had to protect her heart even more because he had already broken it once. And so it's kind of just like all woven together. And then I think, you know, as they find each other throughout the story, it kind of allows them to move past and through all of that kind of almost decades old heartbreak in some cases for, you know, the aunts and Florence and all of that. I won't say too much in case anybody hasn't read it, but
speaking of like comfort, going back to that too, a lot obviously, you know, and we talked a little bit about the recipes and your grandmother's recipes, which I didn't realize that. That's so beautiful that you're able to sort of memorialize and you know, forever have a recipes in a book in such a beautiful way. I think that's really special. And they are really comforting. I'm wondering, I know for me and our family, there are certain foods that we do eat when the mood is right and the time is right. And it's often dictated by our comfort levels or where we are emotionally, because eating is such an emotional experience as well. Is there a particular recipe from the book that you find the most comfort with?
I think for me, and I would probably answer for my whole family as well, it would probably be the fried chicken.
Yeah.
Just because it's you know, my grandma would make that. Like I said, so it's weird because my whole family is from Southern California. And then a bunch of us broke off and moved to Tennessee. And so my grandma was there. So she went between Yuma, Arizona, Southern California, and Northern California. But she was, I think when you think of kind of that Southern grandma, she just really embodies that. And so a lot of the comments that I actually got from people were like, this doesn't feel like a California town.
Yeah.
And I understand, I get it, because if you haven't been to those tiny little towns in California, you know, when you think of California, you think LA, the beach, or
Right.
San Francisco. But there are, you know, little pocket towns that are very similar, I would say, to a Southern kind of like, you know, town. But so she really embodied that, just feisty Spitfire. You know, she was born in 1929. So she grew up through the Depression, and she was we called her a pioneer woman.
Yeah.
And so she, you know, she would make just giant batches of fried chicken and mashed potatoes and green beans with a crap load of butter on them and, you know, biscuits. And so it was just that very Southern meal. So whenever I even smell fried chicken, I'm just like, it's so nice.
It's immediately like an emotional response. It's so wild that you say that, because I was born in the Bay Area. You referenced Mount Diablo. And I actually lived in Diablo growing up. And then we moved when I was 13, which is a whole other story. But my grandmother and great grandmother, they were all very young when they had children. So my great grandmother actually passed when I was in my 20s, but they were from Louisiana. And they would also make very similar recipes, and fried chicken was at the core. I still have the cast iron pan from Nana that she would fry her fried chicken in. And I remember the smell coming in, and, you know, coming home from school, and there'd be a plate of fried chicken, and it would be on top of, like, you know, paper towels, because that's like more of a California thing to do to get rid of the grease. Yeah. So I completely know those feelings and the small towns, and grew up going, you know, amongst those small towns as a kid. So I felt very comforted also by this book, on a personal level. And then, you know, for someone who maybe isn't familiar with these towns, I think that you can really feel comfort in I feel like you bring up emotional problems, or there's you know, a sort of hiccup or a sort of crossroads, and then you sort of weave in a recipe to kind of remedy that, which I think is a really sweet moment. And I can't wait to try them all now, that, especially knowing that they come from your grandmother, which is even more sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, it's wild, because the book went on to it's called NetGalley. It's where reviewers can request early, you know, copies of books. And I mean, the reviews started just, you know, coming in, and every single review. And this is, you know, I mean, this is after, for me, I had been writing for 10 years and just getting rejection, just like so many rejections. And so when those first reviews started coming in, it was very surreal in and of itself. And then almost every single review, probably 98% of them referenced, oh my gosh, I love the recipes. I didn't know there were recipes in it. I love them. And I was just like,
I know you need to do a follow-up, or like a companion cookbook or something.
Mm-hmm. I have that plan in the works, Jen.
Perfect. I can't wait. Send me an arc. I would love that. That's exciting. Well, so I'm so curious about, I love to chat with writers and talk about their experiences and talk about the process from start to finish. I mean, I think a lot of people, it's deceiving how hard it is to get here, you know, because as a reader, you pick it up and you inhale it and you're done in a weekend. And you think, oh, well, I can't wait for the next one, not realizing that something like this took 10 years in the making, as you were saying. So why don't you talk a little bit about that process? Because I love the art of that. I love the grit of that and the respect. I mean, mad respect for getting yourself here, because it's amazing. And what an accomplishment.
Well, thank you very much. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I love, of course I love talking about the book, but I love, because it can be very lonely as a writer, as an author, kind of going through the trenches of trying to, even if you're if you're self-published, indie published, traditionally published, it doesn't matter. It's still just, it's a lot of work, no matter which way you go about it. But yeah, for me, I started writing it was the year I got married, and I should know this.
I know, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, what year was that?
2010, I think. No, I don't know. No. Anyway, I started writing 12 years ago now. And I had a degree in English literature, and I did a lot of freelance writing for websites and magazines and stuff like that. But I knew I wanted to write books. And so, I wrote my first book, queried it, and got a bunch of rejections, kind of did that for a little bit. So just book after book. This was Unfortunate Side Effects was the fourth book that I had written. And I just kind of thought to myself, at that point when I started querying it, I thought, this is the book. It has to be the book, because I wasn't emotionally invested in the other books that I had written. I just wrote them for fun. And this one I was very emotionally invested in, because it was about my grandma. And so I just really wanted to make it happen, and just rejection after rejection after rejection. And there was a lot of very kind rejections. There was a lot of, what are they called? Just kind of wrote, like an automatic reply rejection. Right. And I had been querying that book for about a year and a half, because a lot of the times it can take literary agents months and months to even get back right. to you, if they want to read more of it. And so I had kind of said to myself, okay, well, I guess maybe I just need to write another book. I guess it's time. And I was in Cambodia randomly, and I got an email from my now agent, and she said, I would love to chat with you and talk to you. And I was like, I was trying to like talk myself down, like she's probably not going to offer representation. So anyway, she offered representation. And then right when we were about to go on submission to editors at publishing houses, COVID happened. And so that kind of threw the whole publishing industry for a loop, because the read times for editors turned from, anywhere from a couple months to 8 months, 10 months. Like everything was just, because everybody was writing, nobody had anything else to do, Yeah. So it was just, gosh, yeah. And then it happened again. It was just like rejection after rejection from publishing house. It was always like this close, like everybody at the office loved it, but we have a book that's kind of similar that's coming out, and we can't have two competing titles, stuff like that. And so I just always was like, you know what? When it's meant to happen, I mean, I always tell myself, I believe that everything happens for a reason. And if I really believe that, then I have to be okay with whatever path this takes. And if it takes me 12 years, like it did, then it takes me 12 years. And so I just kind of went like, chugging along until I finally got an offer. And then that was when I finally as soon as I got an offer, I started a TikTok, and had never been on TikTok before, and started, pitching my book. And that was kind of when
That's so cool. I love that. I think I think what a great example. I mean, being such a, just being such a go rogue. Like if you can't make it happen, if it's not happening, then you're going to do it on your own. And I absolutely love that, because I think often as creatives and as women, I'm sure it happens across the board, but I know as an actor, I mean, you hit your head against the wall so many times, because you're like, no, and the door slamming, yes. That you almost have to create your own path and forge your own path and open your own doors. But it's good on you for not giving up, because it can be debilitating at times, where you feel like, I don't know what else to do. I'm getting all these no's. How do I continue my craft that I love so much?
Most of the time, because I've been asked several times, how did you deal with the rejection? And I said, for me, the rejection was not a reflection of my intrinsic value. I wasn't sitting here thinking, oh, they've rejected my book. They've rejected me. They hate me. I knew that it was separate. But like you're saying, yes, I mean, just freaking bang your head. Closed door, slam, slam, slam.
Yeah.
Oh man, just over and over. But I kind of statistically told myself, every no gets me closer to a yes, because statistically speaking, I know that if I do this enough, there will be the answer that I want. And I found this note in my phone just like 2 days ago. So I have 2 daughters, one's 10 and one's 3. And I type just in my notes app in my phone, when they say something cute or sweet, I'll just write down what they said and the date. And I found this note from my daughter from 2 years ago. It was about, I got my book deal offer for Unfortunate Side Effects in January I think December of 2022. So this was like a year before I even got the book deal. And I was just feeling really dejected because I had gotten another rejection. And she says to me, Mama, it's okay. Somebody is going to love your magic cooking book. And so, she was like 8 at the time that she said that. And she's like, I believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I believe you. I believe in you. I'm like, this is why I'm doing it too, so I can show them, don't give up. Just, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And finally it did.
Exactly. Keep forging on and believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are the best mirrors sometimes and the best reminders to, like, okay, if they're telling me and they're looking at me, I can't give up. Like I have to lead by example. Damn it.
Yes. Darn it.
Oh gosh, that's so cool. Can I also ask you, I love learning about habits. Do you have specific habits when it comes to writing?
I wish I could say yes.
That's okay. Like, I don't know. I mean, I love it. I love that some people are like, when it hits me, it hits me. And
I am incredible. I was actually diagnosed with OCD when I was about 3 years old, because I was the kid, counting my steps and turning lights on and off. And I would get up at midnight so that I could make my bed and like put my stuffed animals in the right place because I would never have enough time before school in the morning. So that was me as a kid. And so I'm so incredibly OCD, but when it comes to writing, and I'm very ritualistic about things. But when it comes to writing, because I homeschool my kids, and so, and working from home, so I will sit down for 30 minutes and pump out 1,000 words and then go to homeschooling or cleaning the house.
Go mom. That's awesome. I mean,
I don't know about that, but
that's amazing. That's incredible. I mean, to have all that patience and then that time for yourself, to take that time for yourself. Like that's pretty amazing.
It is sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's really, really easy. My husband is a saint sent from heaven. So that's kind of a huge bonus. And he's just so helpful and so amazing. He also works from home. And so we tag team and, I'll go up. It also depends on schedule too. So I am contracted for 2 other books in a different series. I'm not allowed to say that yet. So
amazing. Heck yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So for that, when there's actual deadlines, it looks a little bit different. And I'm a little structured. Mm-hmm. But even then, I'm just like, even though I'm so OCD, I hate structure. It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, yeah, I love rainbows, glitter, happiness.
It's your rebelliousness coming out, like, forget the structure. But maybe that's where the creativity comes, right? Comes from.
Totally.
Sometimes I find it's really hard in a structured environment to find the creativity when you feel like you're boxed in.
Totally. And that's, I think, why I also struggle with outlines for actual like writing and, synopses and stuff like that. Like, I'm just going to write. Whatever happens, happens.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, you have a lot of questions.
Okay, bring it.
So I'm going to start because I don't want to steal all your time. Okay. So Martina She said or wrote, I loved the sibling dynamic and relationship between Sadie and Seth. Was there a sibling relationship or relationship that inspired you when writing that?
Yes.
Okay.
My brother he's not my twin, but people always thought we were twins because we look absolutely identical. But he's 4.5 years older than me. The half is very important, as I always say. But he was just, I mean, he's the best brother in the whole world. And we never fought growing up, and he was very protective of me. He took care of me. So we were both homeschooled as well. And so my father was a pilot for FedEx. And so we spent a lot of our time traveling. And so we only had each other. So we had, I mean, it was either be best friends or have no friends.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. So we were very, very close and very, very similar. And I think Seth and Sadie are kind of, they're very similar in some respects. They're kind of digging at each other and bickering and stuff, but then they're obviously, of course, extremely different in their outlook and things they struggle with and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely inspired. The closeness, I think, was inspired by my own brother, who's just the greatest brother I could imagine having.
That's amazing. Where is he now? Or do you guys live close now, or is he far away?
Yeah, he lives in Northern California, also probably like 40 minutes from us, so not too far.
Amazing. Amy has a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering how well, first of all, I've read 66 books this year so far, and yours is definitely in my top 5. So it was a change of pace for me, and I really enjoyed it. So, but my question was how you came up with the comps. Like, what elements did you consider? Did you ever worry, like, oh, if I say I'm comparing it to Gilmore Girls, like people are going to think that's too big, you know?
Yes, I love this question. And I love marketing. I always kind of joke that if I had another life, I would love to be like an ad man from Mad Men. And so when I kind of started deciding what my comps were, I knew Practical Magic would be the most relevant comp title,
Right.
because a lot of the themes were the same. And then when it came to Gilmore Girls, as I was reading through the book again for edits, I was like, you know what this really reminds me of? It reminds me of Stars Hollow, and just the quirky kind of different characters and the small businesses. And I mean, realistically, so much of the town is based on, again, where I live and the town surrounding it. I mean, when I hit the New York Times bestseller list, I had people, there's only one florist where we live. And so I had my publisher and my mom and, different people calling the florist to send me flowers, which was the nicest thing ever. My agent actually called the florist, and she's like, yeah, I want to order flowers for somebody. And the florist, is it for Breanne? And she was like, wow, she was not joking about this in the book. So it really, a lot of people, when they think, when they hear the comp title of Gilmore Girls, they think like Lorelai and Rory. And so anytime when I kind of expand on the Gilmore Girls, it was the Stars Hollow and the twisted family dynamics and the just kind of the drama and the small town, vibes, I guess, really.
Right.
A lot of food, a lot of close relationships and things like that. And I knew that people, some people read it and that I don't get it. I don't get the comp titles. I don't feel that. And then other people read it and they're like,
they jumped out at me. I was like, I totally get it. Yeah.
And exactly. So other people are like, it was spot on. It was totally reminded me of that Gilmore Girls vibe, Practical Magic vibe. And so I knew, of course, some people are going to like it and some people aren't. And that's completely okay because I respect people's opinions.
Yeah, you can't please everybody.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So yeah, it was fun to come up with them. And I always joke that people know the comp titles more than they know the name of the book. I'm like, fine by me.
It'll get there though. You just watch.
It's just gonna take off.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
I think, Charlie, do we have someone else that we're bringing in, or?
Why don't you take a couple questions from the Q&A and then I'll bring one more person in.
Okay. let me see. Oopsies. Oh, well, this might be a quick one or it might be a long one, but Cheryl Randall is wondering, she is a writer who's working on her first novel, and she's wondering, since it's November, have you ever participated in the
NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo.
Okay, I should know. Okay, yeah, have you participated in that? What is that? I'm so curious.
National Novel Writing Month. And so it's shortened to NaNoWriMo.
Oh. It sounds like an animal that should be in a
So
zoo.
people, there's threads and communities where you can be held accountable. I'm going to write X amount of words a day, and then you can find people who are also shooting for that goal. And the goal, of course, is to write a novel in the month of November. And that can be, super rough draft. It can be something that you were already working on that you're going to finish. There was a book by Erin Morgenstern called The Night Circus, which is one of my all-time favorite books. She wrote that during NaNoWriMo, the first draft of it. Yeah. And so it's super helpful to kind of have the motivation and the community behind you, where you can say, okay, hey, we're all writing, like we're all just nose to the grindstone. We're going to get this done. I did part of it, I think, years and years ago. I don't even remember what I was writing at the time, but I cheer people on.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
I haven't actually participated in ever really, like, all the way through, but
Yeah,
I know that people get great results out of it.
it's nice to have that kind of community that holds each other accountable, or that can cheerlead for each other.
Totally. Yeah, it's fun.
Hi, Rochelle. I think you're on mute. So sorry.
Oh, there we go. I guess I wasn't turned on. Sorry. I don't do well with Zoom. But no, I didn't really have so much have a question for you, Breanne, but I had kind of a thank you. First off, I absolutely loved the book. It was amazing. And I too was very, very close with my grandmother. And we also lost her very suddenly. It's been quite a while ago, but I totally understand, losing someone that you care so much about on such a quick turnaround that you just aren't prepared for it. But no, I really wanted to thank you because I'm actually going to be a first-time grandmother in April. And I could not for the life of me, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what I wanted my grandmother name to be. And because I didn't just want to be grandma. It's too simple. It's too easy. And after reading your book, I have decided that I am going to be Gigi. And I loved the character of Gigi so much. And, she reminded me quite a bit of my grandmother. So I wanted to thank you for solving that dilemma for me.
Well, that is, I think, probably the highest honor I could possibly imagine. So thank you so much. My daughter, so it was her great grandma, of course, but that's what she called her, Gigi.
That's awesome.
She wasn't even talking. She barely said mama. She barely said dada, and she just randomly just started calling her Gigi.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
So
awesome. It's Southern too, isn't it? Isn't it more of a? I mean, I know my sister-in-law's mother is a Gigi as well, and I feel like it's more common. We live in Texas, and I feel like I've heard there's either Mama, which is also super Southern, and like Gigi, which I've heard a few times.
But yeah, I love it.
Did you not call her Gigi growing up, or you did?
No, it was just always grandma. I mean, and then after I had my daughter and she started calling her Gigi, that was what I started calling, it's like when you refer to your, I don't know if you ever do this, but I'll say, it's my husband. I'm talking to my husband and I'll say, Daddy, can you go get this for one of the girls? Right?
I know. It gets a little, I know. I do that too. I'm like, oh, getting kinky. I'm like, hey, Dad. I'm like, sorry, Jared. He's like, I'm not your dad. I know. I do that too, though. Or I'll call my mom. My mom is now Nana. Hey, Nana.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I love this so much. I love how you've clearly like you've taken the narrative like and just have owned it, and you've gone to TikTok and have created your own audience, and now you're growing and growing and growing and clearly inspiring so many people and so many readers. And you just, you know, the world is your oyster. I mean, I absolutely love hearing that you have all these new things in the you know, pipeline, and you're working on so many cool things because of that. And you're really inspiring, the fact that you didn't give up. Truly. And it's making me go, you know what, I should get back into writing. Like I really love everything that you've done and you've written and you've worked so hard for. So thank you for being such a badass and inspiring writer. And creating and bringing more magic into this world. We all need more magic.
Thank you.
And moving forward, you know, is there anything that we can look forward to as writers? And is there anything that we can do to help promote you or promote your books and your work on this journey?
You know, I mean, first, I'll say this. I love that you said that you might want to get back into writing, because I am the biggest proponent of being a cheerleader. I will just, I really truly 100% believe that everybody who wants to write, of course, if you don't want to write, if that's not your thing, fine. But if somebody has that kind of itch or has a talent for it, I mean, everybody has that story, like that's going to resonate with somebody. And I so badly just want for people to find that within them. And so that, because it's, you know, it's no different than, why do we go through things? And I fully believe that one of the reasons, the main reason that we go through things, is so that we can empathize with others who are going through the same thing. So yes, first, let me say, yeah, you go right.
Oh, thank you.
Do it. And secondly, to look forward to, gosh, other than the secret that I already shared that I wasn't supposed to.
We won't tell anyone.
I know. I trust all of you. It's fine. But that, and then, you know, for sharing or promoting or anything like that, I mean, honestly, anything, like when somebody likes my post, I still get so very blown away by people's responses and kind comments. I mean, in this whole journey, I've gotten very, very, very few negative comments or DMs. And everybody, the community that has rallied up has just been so very kind and welcoming and encouraging. So I'm so grateful. And so, yeah, anytime somebody likes my video or comments or tells a friend, hey, have you read this book? You know, anything like that is just the greatest. So when people tell me I bought a book for a friend because I didn't want to give them my copy, I'm like, that's so nice. Thank you.
We brought some copies, Jared and I brought some. We were in a convention, like a Comic-Con convention in, where were we? Edinburgh, Scotland. And we brought extras for people that were like, join the book club.
Jeez, smuggled books across the pond for you.
We did, because it wasn't over there yet. People were complaining that they couldn't get a copy of it yet. So we brought some over.
That's right. That's right. Well done, illegal trafficking of paid books. Well done.
For any people who are in law enforcement, you didn't hear that.
We have no idea.
I do what I can. I'm all for putting books in people's hands. Arrest me, go for it.
100%. Banned books, all the books, magical books. Thank you, Jen, for sharing your love of books here and supporting authors. Thank you, Breanne, for sharing your time in this magical world with us. And thank you to everyone who bought a ticket too and paid for a ticket. You supported Reading is Fundamental, which is the United States' largest children's literacy charity, and it has a lot of work to do, putting books in schools, getting books to kids, helping with children's literacy. So thank you very much. And thank you, Berto. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Rai. Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was awesome. It was amazing.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.